Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your favorite virgin here, back at it again to drop What If Naruto Became the World's Greatest Hokage? Nah, I'm totally kidding, guys. No, seriously though. I'm here to drop What If Naruto had paper release. Now, a lot of you guys saw the thumbnail on my community tab, and a lot of you guys were actually pretty hype about it. And I said cab, I know, but just ignore that. Anyways, community tab, alright? I posted the little paper release thing, and a lot of you guys seem pretty hype. And so, today is the day where you guys are finally going to be getting the amazing What If. That being said, before I start the video, this video is going to be a sponsored one, and there will be some detail on that midway through the video. Secondly, check my links in the description, seeing as I have a couple of things in there that you guys may find cool, like my Discord server, my thumbnail maker, and other links that are, those sorts of things. That being said though, guys, I hope you guys do go on to enjoy the video, and if you do, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so how we're going to be starting off this story is basically the day that Naruto was born. In this version of events, Naruto is going to be born with purple hair. Instead of his normal, normal version of hair that he has, like his blonde hair and stuff like that. Instead, this version of Naruto is going to be looking like the one in the thumbnail. That being said, Naruto would end up basically growing up as many of you guys will probably expect. Of course, the Nine Tails incident still ends up happening, therefore Naruto still has the Nine Tails within him, and Naruto is still of course going to be, well, treated like a villain in the village. After Danzo ends up spoiling the secret to everybody that Naruto is the nine-tailed fox, that said, everybody starts looking at him differently. And before that, Naruto was a good kid. Nobody seemed to have any problems with him, and Naruto didn't seem to have to deal with any annoyances in his life. But he turned 4 and Hiruzen left him in his own apartment. He left him to his own devices at just the tender age of 4. It made no sense. But Naruto ended up persevering. Naruto used that rent money. He would always buy himself a bowl of ramen, and one thing that always seemed to capture Naruto's attention was paper. It always seemed to be a fun way of escaping the world. Naruto would love doing origami, and it's just one of those things that Naruto loved. One day, Naruto was going to a store to go pick up some more sheets of paper, and this is when news about him being the Nine-Tails demon would spread to the shopkeeper. As soon as Naruto would walk inside, he would say hello to the man in the shop, and the man would look at him as he would throw a stack of papers at Naruto, as it would hit him straight in the face, and Naruto would then say, what did I do? As he would be rubbing his head and a tear would come down. This is when the man would say, you're no longer welcome here, demon. This is when Naruto would say, but where else am I supposed to get my paper? As he would then look at Naruto and say, that's not my problem. He would then say, get out of here, go. And he would say, leave that here too. As Naruto would grab the pile of papers and he would run off with it. This is when the man would begin to chase after Naruto and say, get that demon. As a bunch of other villagers would look at Naruto and they would all begin to chase him. Naruto would start running away as fast as he can, trying to jump from rooftop to rooftop, but eventually, ninjas would hear the commotion and they would end up coming over to catch Naruto themselves. That being said, this is when a bunch of people would start beating on Naruto, and the beatings would just get worse. This cycle of Naruto getting beat for no absolute reason would continue on for the next couple of months, and one day, when Naruto was getting beat by a group of ninjas and some random villagers, Naruto would have enough. That same man who sold him the papers would have actually caught him. After Naruto tried to return to that store, he ended up actually telling Naruto that not only is he going to get beat this time, but he's going to die. As he would chase after Naruto, and after about a chase of about 15 minutes, the man would end up catching up to Naruto in a little bit of an alleyway. This is when Naruto would look at his direction and say, please, no, stop. As the man would then walk over to Naruto and say, you called this upon yourself. Naruto would be about 6 years old. No, not 6 years old. He would still be about 4 years old. And this is when Naruto would say, he would hold his hands up as the man before him would quite literally get cut into pieces. That being said, Naruto would open his eyes as he would see the man cut into pieces, slices. Naruto would just be shocked. Who's there? Who saved him? Naruto would begin to look around as he would say, nobody's here. Naruto would then put his hands up as papers would start lifting up in the air. And this is when Naruto realized what just happened. Nobody saved him. He saved himself. It wasn't somebody else. It was him. He controls paper. Naruto would then start moving his hands around and start smiling as he would start laughing and saying, I can control it. It's a part of me. This is when Naruto would basically run off into the forest as he would then try to train in secret. Naruto would then begin to try to do these movements and try to master his little paper release Kekkei Genkai, and in all the time that he has, all of his free time. So every day for the next 2 years, Naruto would go into the forest trying to master his abilities. And for those 2 years, Naruto would have found out that he actually needs pretty good chakra control. So for those 2 first years, Naruto would have basically just ended up stealing some scrolls and looking around trying to see what it is he could find on anything. You know what I mean? He would look around and start trying to find scrolls on chakra controlling and stuff like that. And Naruto, being who he is, would end up finding a scroll. He ends up stealing it, hitting a devious lick, and oh my god. Anyways, Naruto would steal it, and this is when okay, I need to let the laugh out. I'm sorry. The man really hit a devious lick. Alright, I'm over it. Okay, look. So afterwards, Naruto basically spent the next 2 years essentially training his chakra control, to the point where now Naruto knows how to tree walk and water walk. He also knows how to, use his chakra and put together some hand signs. Naruto got pretty decent at it. Alongside that, Naruto ended up doing quite a little bit, not too much, a little bit of a physical training just to help him out with the physical department. And at this point, Naruto will be about 6 years old. It's at this point that Naruto will basically be in the same forest training again, as a group of boys would be bullying a girl by the name of Hinata Hyuga. This would of course lead to a scene where Naruto arrives and tells them to leave her alone. The boys would then follow Naruto and say, what are you gonna do about it? And this is when Naruto would look at them as he would say, I'll stop you myself. As we would have a scene very reminiscent to the one where Deku looks at the bullies and Bakugo as he says, Kachan, if you don't stop this, then I'll stop you myself. That's basically kind of what happens. And this is when Naruto would basically end up looking at them. As the boys would rush at him, Naruto would just look down at the ground as he has a pretty sad look on his face. This is when Naruto would have papers rise from the ground, as immediately he would cause all of them to rush at the boys, and they would start pretty much turning into paper balls, as he would start causing them to pretty much hit towards the direction of the kids, and they would all end up running away crying, saying, Mommy! They would end up running away. And it's at this point that Naruto would walk up to Hinata. He would say, hey, are you okay? Hinata would look at Naruto and give him a stare of just complete awe, as she would say, yeah, thank you. It's at this point that one of the Hyuga clan members, not gonna lie boys, I just got a call. But anyways, as I was saying, Naruto would basically proceed to get Hinata taken away from him, as a Hyuga member would come up to Hinata and say, hey, Lady Hinata, don't talk to that boy. She would immediately grab Hinata. She would begin to take her away from the area, as it's at this point that Naruto would say, bye. It's at this point that Naruto would continue doing his training all by himself, and for the next year, Naruto would strictly do body training. Instead of training his chakra control and stuff like that, he would pretty much just begin to do training with his physical, his physical strength. This would lead to Naruto now being 7 years old. And it's at this point that Naruto would decide that, well, now he has chakra control, and he's pretty decently strong physically after 1 year of training, which is honestly not that much, but Naruto got some pretty good, decent gains from that. This is when Naruto would decide that maybe it's time that he incorporates both of those things during this time, as he would take another year and now will be 8 years old. As it's at this point that Naruto would have ended up learning a couple paper release techniques, and he would even end up getting stronger physically, helping him out with the taijutsu department and things like that. Naruto is actually going to be way stronger than what he believes, and this is when Naruto will, he's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, this is when Naruto will finally start getting into the academy. As it's at this point that we're just going to say that Naruto's going to get into the academy at 8 years old, just because why not, you know what I mean? Because I honestly don't know the age that they get into the academy, but we're just going to say that they're 8, alright? They're 8 years old, right? Naruto is basically going to just go to his first day at the academy. where of course Iruka Sensei is there to teach everybody their basics and stuff like that. And one thing would lead to another, which would basically lead to the battle between Naruto and Sasuke. That being said, this is the first time that they're ever meeting each other, and Sasuke still hasn't developed that personality of being the person that we all know from, you know, the little version, you know what I mean? That being said, this is when we would essentially have what's it called? We would essentially have Naruto, well, destroy Sasuke. Naruto ends up defeating Sasuke very easily. When it comes to taijutsu and jutsu, it's in and of itself, Naruto just obliterates Sasuke. He's physically more dominant than him, and not only that, but that paper ability that he has. That's something that nobody in the Leaf Village has ever seen before. It's strange ability. Iruka Sensei takes note of this and actually ends up giving the information to Hiruzen, who, after hearing the fact that Naruto has this strange Keiki Genkai, which is paper release, and he would end up basically wondering whether Kushina did some, whether Kushina did something to Minato, like cheated or something, and that's how Naruto ended up gaining the Keiki Genkai. But this is when Hiruzen would remember that Minato was an orphan, so maybe his mother or father had it, and that. We're just going to say that, yeah, that's the case. We're not going to say that it's Konan, that they're related or anything like that, but Naruto got the Keiki Genkai from, like, let's say Minato's dad or mom or something like that, right? That being said, this is when Naruto would continue going to school. And after defeating Sasuke, everybody kind of didn't like Naruto. A bunch of the girls actually disliked him, but a couple of the guys actually ended up just being like, oh, I mean, I guess you're kind of strong. Naruto would gain a couple of friends. These being Shoji and Shikamaru, and Naruto would end up hanging out with him during the years to come. That being said, we're going to be having a little bit of a 2-year time skip after this, as they are now going to be 10 years old. And this is when Naruto would basically be in the back of the classroom. Naruto would be making an origami rose, and this is when Ino would walk into the classroom. She would immediately notice Naruto in the back, and being as Naruto doesn't have the same personality that the one that we all know and love, Naruto's going to be a lot more like a lot more introverted in this version rather than being the upbeat person that we normally know. Naruto's going to be a cool person, but he's kind of going to be more along the lines of like silent and just chill, rather than, you know, being like a Yuji Itadori or his normal Naruto persona. You know what I mean? That being said, this is when Hino would actually notice what Naruto was making. She would walk up to him and she would see the rose in his hands and she would say, "Did you make that?" As Naruto would look at her and say, "Yeah, I did." This is when she would say, "It's so realistic. How did you do this?" And this is when Naruto would hold his hand out with a couple pieces of paper in it. And this is when Naruto would cause the pieces of paper to change colors. Naruto would then like basically smack his hands together as he would open them again, revealing a rose, a perfect rose. It looks like the real thing. Ino would immediately say, that's awesome. Does this rose die?" As Naruto would say, "No, it lasts forever, as long as you keep it safe." As Ino would look at him and say, "You're amazing, Naruto." She would immediately sit down and they would then strike up a little bit of a conversation. As Naruto and Ino would start talking a little bit, Ino would actually find out that Naruto's pretty cool. She would end up sitting next to Naruto more and more and more until eventually this would kindle into a little bit of a friendship. And what does a friendship lead to most of the times? Yeah. They end up getting into a relationship at the point after about 1 year. And it just so happens that around this time, the Genin exams and stuff like that just started. Naruto and Ino would arrive to class. This is when Naruto would basically look at Ino and say, "Hey, he would basically pick her up from her house, as her father, whatever his name is, would pretty much end up telling Naruto to just take care of his daughter today. Naruto would say, of course he will, and this is when they would end up going off to school. That being said, Naruto and Ino would end up, of course, making it to the academy where everybody would take their little exams. That being said, Naruto is, of course, going to be passing because not only does he have the extra, not only did he already know how to control chakra and stuff like that, but Naruto also had 3 extra years of training, which actually led to Naruto developing a couple extra moves, which I bet a lot of you guys are not expecting. Naruto at this point already has the ability to turn himself into papers, or the Shikigami dance, the paper Shikigami dance, whatever it is that Konan uses to turn herself into paper. Yeah, he has that. Not only that, but he has the ability to create the wings, and he can create explosive paper clones. He can create a bunch of paper clones that are normal, and he just has a bunch of really dope abilities. That's not even the iceberg of what Naruto is fully capable of. Naruto also has a pretty good mastery over wind style and water style ninjutsu, and he's just pretty well adapted in many of his fields that he wants to do. That being said, this is when, he would basically end up noticing that one kid actually ended up failing. And Naruto would end up realizing that this kid is doing something strange. He ended up running off after class. Naruto, seeing this, would end up actually following the boy and realize that he stole the forbidden scroll. Inside the same office of Hiruzen, Naruto would take the kid down and ask him a couple questions. Why did you steal the scroll? The kid would tell him that it's part of the next part of the Genin exam. If you failed the written portion, you can pass it by doing this. Naruto would say that that's a lie. There's no way that that's true. I mean, you literally just stole a forbidden scroll. This is when the kid would say, he lied to me. As Naruto would say, who lied to you? And before the kid could even answer, Mizuki would pretty much end up throwing a giant shuriken at the kid, as it would kill him before he gets the chance to say anything. And Hiruzen would end up walking into his office. As he's smoking his pipe, he would be like, I always knew there was something fishy about you, Mizuki. This is when Mizuki would blitz at the boy, grab the scroll, but before he could even get out and jump out of the building, Naruto would cover the window up with papers, as Hiruzen would basically end up looking at Naruto and saying, don't worry about it, Naruto, I have this. As he would then end up clapping, and his Anbu members would come out of the shadows, as they were basically behind him, like standing in the hallway. This is when they would end up cutting Mizuki down, and Naruto would end up being thanked by Hiruzen. That being said, this is when Naruto would end up basically just getting ready for the very next day, seeing as this is when they're going to be meeting their instructors, and this is when they would all go into class, as of course everybody's going to be there, and I'm pretty sure many of you guys can already guess what the teams are going to be. Ino is of course going to be on team 7 because Sakura is a literal walking trash bag. Nobody likes her. Nobody likes her. I really got to make that point. Like, I really want you guys to know that nobody likes her at all. Like, not even one bit. Like at all, bro. Nobody likes her. All right, anyways. So, after letting you guys know that nobody likes her, and I'm going to do it again, nobody likes her, we can now get into the story again. Alright, so after they're all basically picked, they end up sitting there for about an hour until Kakashi finally arrives and tells them all to go to the rooftop to basically introduce each other. That being said, everybody would go up to the rooftop, and Sasuke would actually be feeling quite good about this team. Naruto in this version of events doesn't annoy Sasuke, and Sasuke actually has a little bit of respect for Naruto. Seeing as Naruto is one of the few people who have actually been able to best him in battle a couple of times here and there, Sasuke is actually pretty excited at the fact that not only does he get Ino on his team, who doesn't annoy him anymore, but Naruto as well. Sasuke is pretty happy with the team that he got, and so everybody ends up giving the introductions. Sasuke is of course still going to be a little bit of an emo boy. Naruto would say that his goal is to be respected by everybody and become a Hokage. He wants to be somebody which everybody can look up to, be a symbol of hope, a beacon for light. This is when Ino would go, and she would then basically end up saying that she wants to help Naruto achieve his goals, and she wants to open her own little flower shop, something that can be way better than her mother's. As Naruto would smile, this is when he and her would basically end up looking at each other, as Kakashi would say, oh, looks like they gave me a whole relationship. He would sigh and then say, alright, well, everybody meet me here at this place tomorrow, as we're just going to basically time skip there, and this is when everybody would get there. Of course, everybody would get there at the normal time and end up actually having to wait about 3 hours before Kakashi even arrived. Kakashi would get there and he would then say, well guys, I lost. I seriously need to stop stuttering. He would say, sorry guys, I lost myself on the path of life. He would then basically end up explaining the little exam to them. I was about to say tuning exam, but no, the bell exam to them, as they would all say that it seems pretty simple. Kakashi would then smirk, saying that, oh, I mean, it seems like that at first, but there's the twist. If you guys don't end up grabbing that bell before the 1 hour is up, you guys are all going back to the academy. This is when it would sink into all of them that this is a pretty high stake exam, as they're all like, there's no way we're going to go back into the academy. Immediately, as soon as Kakashi says go, everybody would get into the shadows. Naruto would create a paper clone, which would stay right where he was, as Naruto would blitz over to a tree, and this is when everybody would begin to get into hiding. Sasuke in this version of events is actually going to be a lot more powerful. Actually, no, not really. He's not going to be that much more powerful, but he's going to definitely get a little bit of a rival boost because of the fact that Naruto's there. And even though Naruto doesn't consider Sasuke his rival, and Naruto is actually stronger than Sasuke, that doesn't mean that Sasuke is going to be that far behind him. Sasuke has actually caught Naruto off guard a couple of times with his fire nature, because it's like, paper is weak to fire. And so, they've had a couple of close battles here and there. But seeing as Naruto's not that type of person who really cares about rivalries, Naruto doesn't really put that as his main priority or really put too much attention on Sasuke. So this would lead to Naruto basically creating an explosive clone, which would actually rush at Kakashi and catch him off guard. Kakashi would be thinking that he was a normal person, as Naruto would end up actually faking that he was in a genjutsu. This is when the clone would end up acting as if he was in it, and when Kakashi was going to go up to him and tell him that he shouldn't believe the bait, Naruto would end up basically exploding, as Kakashi would have to substitute out of there. However, as soon as he does that, Sasuke would jump out of his tree and go fire style, fireball jutsu, as he would shoot a giant fireball right at Kakashi, and Naruto would fly into the air with his wings as he would say wind style, wind bullet jutsu, causing the fireball to grow twice the size and engulf Kakashi, or so it looked. The clone would pop, as yup, it was a clone, and this one Kakashi would be standing right behind Sakura, but Sasuke, sorry. He would stand right behind Sasuke, and Sasuke would have a drop of sweat go down his face. This is when Ino would say, mind transfer jutsu, as immediately she would actually end up catching Kakashi off guard, and Kakashi would end up being paralyzed. Nothing he could do. He completely forgot about Sakura. He was so stunned. Oh my god, he completely forgot about Ino, not Sakura, because of the fact that these two were way too impressive for what his standards were. He didn't think that Naruto was going to be half as strong as he ended up being. And not only that, but Sasuke ended up catching him off guard with that, high level jutsu. That being said, he was caught off guard, and they were able to grab the bells off of Kakashi's waist. After that, Kakashi ended up telling them that they passed and revealing the true goal of this exam. He would say that they ended up showing off teamwork, so even though they caught him off guard, it still ended up counting. That being said, they ended up pretty much passing, and after this they would end up going on about 3 weeks of worthless missions, pretty much just going after cats and doing the little basic things that they ended up having to do during that 1 month period that they really had no real good missions. That being said, Naruto at one point would get pretty irritated, as Sasuke would and Ino would as well. And it's at this point that Kakashi would actually end up realizing that, the team is not exactly happy with the missions that they're getting. Not only are they getting paid close to nothing, but they're just wasting their times. I mean, they should be out there doing C rank missions at least. Kakashi would take note of this and end up going to Hiruzen the very next day, as he would end up having an assignment for them, the bridge builder. They would end up having to escort Tazuna back to the Land of the Waves, and this is when the Land of the Wave arc would commence. They would all be told to gather their things together, and this is when they would all, of course, do so. That being said, this is when everybody would meet up the very next morning, and they would end up embarking on their journey. About 30 minutes into it, this is when they would encounter about 2 random ninja warriors. And how do you know that they encountered them? Well, Naruto would be able to see the genjutsu easily. I mean, it's a puddle on the ground, dude. It hasn't rained for weeks, so it's not quite likely. That being said, Naruto would immediately dispel the genjutsu and immediately rush at the brothers, as he would create 2 explosive clones which would cause both of them to get knocked out. And this is when Kakashi, after about 30 minutes of having them unconscious, would walk over to them as he would say, "Alright, why are you here?" The demon brothers would look at him as they would say, "We're not going to tell you a thing." And this is when Kakashi would just look at them and say, "Alright, that's fine." As it's at this point that Naruto would walk over to them and say, "Why are you guys here?" Immediately after realizing that that's the kid who exploded them, they're like, "Alright, yeah, bro, we'll tell you everything." As they would pretty much end up saying that a man named Gato hired them to kill that man over there. As they would point at Tazuna, this is when they would realize what happened, and Kakashi would end up realizing that this is not a C rank mission. He would immediately confront Tazuna about it, and Tazuna would end up guilt tripping them into doing the mission. After this, Kakashi would just be like, whatever, the team's more than prepared to handle this anyways. If we die, it's going to be on your conscience. As Tazuna would end up kind of awkwardly laughing, and Naruto would just end up chuckling as well, as Kakashi would end up just saying, "Alright, let's go," and Sasuke would just be like, "Huh." This is when Ino and Naruto would end up walking off, as they would end up talking about things, and Ino and Naruto would end up flirting a little bit along the way. You know what I mean? They are boyfriend and girlfriend. Naruto and Ino would have ended up sneaking off to go, do a little every now and then. And about 1 hour after this, they finally arrived at the land of the waves. They would end up seeing a very strange thing. A bunch of mist would start coming in very, very heavily. Naruto, seeing this, would call this out, and this is when immediately he would end up sensing something coming at their direction. He would actually have these little animals. You guys are probably wondering how it was that Naruto was able to see the Genjutsu before everybody was able to and make those 2 clones. Well, Naruto has literal paper, so he makes not butterflies, but he makes small paper animals which can fly around and give him intel. So let's say he makes like a paper bird, it can fly around and tell him what's going on, and that's exactly what Deku does. That being said, did I just say Deku? Yeah, I'm about to get crucified down below in the comments. No, yeah, I meant Naruto. Okay, that's exactly what Naruto does. So this is when Naruto would realize that there's 2 people up ahead. Naruto, noticing this, would immediately let Kakashi know that there's 2 ninjas. They seem to be pretty high level ninjas. Kakashi would immediately get on guard and pull his headband up, revealing the Sharingan. After seeing this, Sasuke would say, "What is that?" As Kakashi would say, "It's not the time for this, Sasuke." Sasuke would say, "It is the time for this. How did you get that Sharingan? My clan is the only one that has it." He's making a giant scene about it. And this is when Zabuza's blade would come flying at them. As Sasuke would actually almost die to this because he was too busy being angered and he was clouded. His judgment was just not it right now. And Naruto would end up having to catch the blade midair, telling Sasuke to pay attention. Sasuke, after realizing that if it wasn't for Naruto, he would have died right there, would end up getting his head back in the game, and this is when a ninja by the name of Zabuza Momochi would appear. Naruto would immediately stare him down as he would have papers just come out of his back as he would create wings, and this is when Zabuza would say, "Interesting jutsu. It'd be lovely if you were to fight against Haku," as immediately ice mirrors would appear right beside Naruto, Sasuke, and Ino. And it's at this point that Naruto would look at Ino's direction as he would say, "Any ideas?" Ino would look at Naruto as she would say, "Yeah, just one. Distract her." As Naruto would say, "Alright, I will." It's at this point that, Haku would start blitzing around, and Kakashi and Zabuza would be having a one-sided battle, which essentially consists of Naruto copying everything. No, sorry, not Naruto, but Kakashi copying all of Zabuza's movements. Zabuza would be thrown off guard by this because it's not every day somebody just copies you word for word. You know what I mean? So he would be thrown off guard by this, but this is when Kakashi would end up revealing to him that, that he's able to copy his every move flawlessly. Zabuza would think that he's able to see the future and get caught off guard, which would cause Zabuza to end up losing the battle. And as soon as Haku notices this, he stops using his speed in the ice crystal mirrors. After all that time, Naruto was able to create a thick dome of papers around them, which was blocking all of the Senbon from getting inside them. However, Haku was just shooting the Senbon straight in there, hoping that it would hit them, and they were still getting damaged. However, as soon as Haku noticed that Zabuza was losing, he ended up letting up on them and ended up starting to rush over to Zabuza to try to help him. However, on that moment that they had a split second of opening, Ino ended up using her secret jutsu to end up taking over Haku's body. That being said, she ended up pretty much getting taken down by Naruto, and after this point, Naruto would catch Ino's body in his arms as Ino would end up taking over Haku and Zabuza would die. This is when Ino would go back into her normal body, and after seeing this, Haku would freak out. This is when it would be a full-out enraged, bloodlusted Haku versus Naruto, Sasuke, Ino, and Kakashi. Everybody would activate their trump jutsus as Ino would whip out a kunai, and she would hold her stance firmly. This is when Naruto would create a bunch of paper clones, as he would end up actually creating a puddle behind Haku, as Haku was actually not paying too much attention, but Haku would end up blitzing at Naruto and trying to cut at his direction with the Senbon, but Kakashi would come in and start fighting against Haku. They would be having a very intense battle. It would be neck and neck, almost, if it wasn't for the fact that Sasuke is pretty much offering a support role in the battle. He's shooting fire style balls at a Haku, and Kakashi is capitalizing on each moment. That being said, Naruto is in the background kind of creating a little bit of a plan, creating a layout so that Haku can be taken out simply. That being said, This is when Naruto would basically finally get what he needed. Haku would take a couple steps back as he would be standing right on the explosive. And this is when Naruto would let it detonate. The small puddle would turn into a bunch of paper explosives as it would detonate, causing Haku's leg to literally be blown off of. And Haku would fall onto the ground as he begins to bleed out. This is when Naruto would blitz over there using his wings and with one fell swoop would cut Haku's head off. After this, Tazuna would be shocked, and this would cause for them all to go back to Tazuna's house, and pretty much the Inari stuff would happen. Tsunami would end up cooking for all of them, and they would realize in just exactly what kind of a state this village is in. After seeing this, everybody would get pretty sad about this, and Inari, being the kid that he is, would end up saying that they're not going to make a difference, that Gato's just going to kill them all. Why bother? You know, Inari's just being Inari. That being said, this is when they would end up helping him build the bridge as well. And this is when Gato and his men would finally appear. He would be thinking that if you want something done right, you're going to have to do it yourself. Gato would arrive with a bunch of men with weapons. However, this is when Kakashi would end up making a dozen clones. Sasuke would as well. Ino would make about 7 clones. And Naruto would make 100 shadow clones. He still has all the incredible chakra that he has in the normal events. So, yeah, Naruto's definitely well off. That being said, this is when Naruto would basically proceed to mollywop all of Gato's men, and people from the village were given Gato to do as they pleased. That being said, they all basically ended up returning to the village where all of them essentially had the beautiful chance of taking the Chunin exams. Kakashi ended up telling them all about that. The Konohamaru situation with Kankuro and stuff like that happened, and they all pretty much accepted taking the Chunin exams. They all arrived there, and this is when Rock Lee would have ended up challenging Sasuke, because that's just what happens. I mean, it has to happen in every What If, bro. It's pretty lit. Rock Lee ends up rocking Sasuke's life, because even though Sasuke's better at jutsus and taijutsu a little bit, he still can't match up to Rock Lee's speed without his weights, because yep, he ended up having to take off his weights this time because this version of Sasuke was a little stronger. However, he ends up still winning, and they all end up going inside to take the Chunin exams. They end up getting to the written portion with everybody ends up actually doing quite well. Sasuke ends up being like, I know absolutely nothing about this, and he ends up having to use his Sharingan to copy off people, because yes, Sasuke has unlocked the One Tomoe Sharingan up to this point. He unlocked it in the battle against Haku when he needed to dodge a bunch of Senbon, and he felt as if his life was in risk. It was pretty hard fighting against a bloodlusted Haku. That being said, oh my god, I probably shouldn't be talking while my eyes are closed because I just literally finished making myself tired for no reason. That being said though, guys, this is when they would all end up taking the test, and Naruto and everybody else would stay inside as they would all end up moving on to the Forest of Death. When they arrived to the Forest of Death, they end up getting a scroll, and this is when they would go into the forest. As about 10 minutes later, Naruto would say that he has to go check something. As Naruto would run off, this is when Naruto would basically proceed to take a quick leak as he would return to the group, and this is when Naruto would notice one thing. He would notice a strange woman with snake-like features, and Naruto behind him would actually have a giant Titanoboa rushing at him as it would be ready to devour Naruto. However, before the snake had a chance to do a thing, a bunch of pieces of paper would begin to float up off the ground as it would begin to levitate the snake, and the snake would get flung into the air as a bunch of papers would turn sharp and they would cut the snake into a million little pieces. After this, Naruto would rush at Orochimaru as he would create the wings, and upon seeing this, Orochimaru would have one thought: Konan? This is when Orochimaru would get caught off guard, and Naruto would end up slashing off Orochimaru's head, actually catching him off guard so much to the fact that Orochimaru had zero chance of regurgitating himself or anything of that sort. That being said, Orochimaru would die. Saiki really thought Orochimaru survived because that man cannot be killed. That being said, this is when Naruto would end up seeing the body of Orochimaru drop to the ground, and he would end up asking Sasuke and Ino if they're okay. This is when Orochimaru would begin to stand up because of course the man didn't die. However, he was heavily weakened, having to use a jutsu that temporarily gives him a do-over. Not the Izanagi, but something else, right? Something that's only a one-time use. And Orochimaru comes back to life, right? That being said, this is when Naruto, Sasuke, and Ino would get into a battle. Ino would pretty much just be serving a support role. She would be shooting a bunch of water jutsus at Orochimaru, while Sasuke and Naruto were the ones who were mainly pressing him. Sasuke would throw the kicks, Naruto would throw punches, and they would end up working very, very well. It was a pretty iconic duo. It was as if they were meant to fight alongside each other. Naruto would throw any hits that Sasuke would miss. Sasuke would land a bunch of hits that Naruto misses. And whenever Sasuke gets hit, Naruto comes in. Whenever Naruto gets hit, Sasuke comes in. And they're just bouncing off each other, helping each other out with this battle against this crazed man. That being said, they would hold off Orochimaru long enough for Anko to actually arrive there and end up helping them with taking Orochimaru out. And then, yeah, Naruto is way stronger in this version of events, but it's not exactly the same as Konan. See, I think Konan would have definitely been able to take down Orochimaru. However, under these circumstances, and the fact that Naruto isn't quite as experienced with the paper release, Naruto ends up needing a bunch of backup to be able to help and stall Orochimaru long enough. As soon as Inko arrives, Orochimaru realizes that it's about that time that he basically retreats from the area, because if he doesn't, he's very well going to die. There's zero way, absolutely zero way that Orochimaru was going to be surviving that, and with the way that everything was going. And with that being said, I think I deserve a little bit of a short break, because your boy's getting a little tired. So I'm going to be recording the rest of What If Naruto had paper release in later in the day. It's 6:05 right now. I'll probably record it at like 8:30 or something like that, the rest of the story, after I go to the gym. But yeah, that being said, Future Zether, take it away. Alright, so now it's time to tell you guys about Fandom. Now, Fandom is an online merch store company that sells pretty much anime apparel. Anything ranging from My Hero Academia to One Piece, from Demon Slayer to Naruto. They have a bunch of options to choose from, and up on screen right now, you guys should be able to see a bunch of options. Whether it be Tokyo Revengers, maybe I might put One Punch Man, maybe not. Maybe there will be Jujutsu Kaisen up there. Maybe there will be, it's another anime that I can think of. Dragon Ball. Maybe Dragon Ball might be there. They have pretty much any anime merch that you guys would want to wear. They pretty much have it. And it's at a very reasonable price. Seeing as right now, they're having a 50% sale on their already affordable stuff. So if you've ever wanted to get yourself some anime apparel, then I would definitely suggest going to Fandom. Anytime you guys go out there and you guys see a shirt or design that's from an anime like store-ish thing, they're always overpriced. See, a normal shirt that you'll find at a store will probably run you about $30. On Fandom, it'll be way cheaper. A hoodie? Don't even talk about how expensive a hoodie would be at a real store. And not only that, but Fandom does very good rates when it comes to shipping. So what are you waiting for, guys? Go shop at Fandom now. And with my code Zether, you can even get 5% off your order. So what are you waiting for? Make sure you guys go onto Fandom and copy yourself some merch for your boy. That being said, Zether out. Alright. So I guess I'm going to be continuing the story past me. Alright, so basically where we had left off, why am I explaining this? You guys literally just heard this like 2 seconds ago, but for me, it's been like an entire couple of hours. Anyways, that being said though, guys, so they basically end up arriving back to where the Chunin exams base is at, and when they end up arriving, immediately they would have to go to Anko, where she would pretty much take them to Lord Third, where he would begin to tell them all to be careful and tell them all to rest easy now that Orochimaru was taken care of. This is when they would pretty much take a break for the rest of the days, and finally, we're going to basically just be skipping towards when they finally have to take their little preliminaries, I guess you could say. Yeah, the preliminaries. I just realized I was a little bit away from my mic, so I fixed it, so the audio might sound a little bit louder, not too sure, but it'll sound pretty dope. That being said though, guys, as I said, this is when Naruto would basically proceed to, get his stuff together, and essentially they would all pretty much just vibe there for a while. The preliminaries would start and they would go as many of you guys would expect. Of course, Naruto has to face up against Kiva, and the rest of the battles are kind of boring, so I'm not going to really cover those. However, I am going to be covering, what's it called? I am going to be covering some of the basic ones, like Sasuke. This version of Sasuke never got bit by the curse mark, so he's able to completely eviscerate his opponent. And when it comes to Ino, she destroys Sakura. There's zero hope for Sakura to win that battle at all. Sakura would of course be on her, yeah, must be nice to be on a team with Sasuke. And you know, this is when the rest of her team would, like Shoji and Shikamaru, would be like, come on, just leave it alone, leave it be. And Sakura would be like, no, I'm gonna destroy this B word. As Ino's just like, oh yeah, we'll try it. As basically Ino whoops the floor with Sakura. Like it's no competition, like at all. And after the match, Naruto would go up to Ino as he would congratulate her, and she would say, well, don't get too excited. You still gotta win your own match. Naruto would chuckle as he would say, sure thing. And this is when Naruto would basically proceed to turn into papers that float into the wind. And this is when they would reappear right inside of the arena, as Kiba would be shocked and be like, dude, you're freaky. As Naruto would basically start chuckling, this is when they would say, begin. Naruto would immediately get rushed at by Kiba as he would say, whoa, wolf, fang over fang. As he would basically blitz at Naruto, but Naruto would turn into papers once again, and Kiba would go straight through him. He would have grabbed a couple of pieces of paper and said, ha, I got some of you, as Naruto would just basically come back as a whole, and Kiba would just be shocked at what just happened. This is when Naruto would point down at the ground, as Kiba would say, huh, and he would notice that the ground was about 4 inches deeper. This is when Kiba would realize what just happened. Naruto would explode the ground beneath him, and Kiba would get knocked out on some Conan type shit, you know what I mean? That being said, Naruto would end up being announced the winner of the match, with Kiba being taken to the infirmary. And next, we would have the next, dope matches, such as Hinata versus Neji, where Naruto just says Neji could have killed her, but he's not exactly mad because it's his friend. He's kind of just pissed off at the fact that he took it that far. When it comes to Gaara and, Lee, Naruto actually gets pissed off there too, telling Gaara that to watch out, because if he doesn't, Naruto's going to be the one who does the same thing to him. As he would say, I'm going to destroy your own ninja dreams. Gaara would be on some evil stuff, and this is when they would all basically have their 1 month training. This is when the story is now going to get spicy. So, obviously, as many of you guys do remember, Kakashi ends up training Sasuke, and Naruto gets stuck with Ibusu Sensei, right? Naruto, being who he is this time, actually ends up getting it so that he doesn't actually have to train with him. He defeats him in a battle fair and square, and so Naruto just ends up training by himself. He would end up training by himself in a forest. And this is when about one of those days, he would decide that, you know what, he's kind of tired, he deserves a break. So he would end up going to some hot springs where he would meet a man with white hair standing on a toad, peeping into the girls' locker room. Naruto would immediately wave his hand as his papers would float and cover Jiraiya's views, as he would say, what are you doing, you creepy old man? This is when Jiraiya would turn around and say, come on, that was the best part. I was doing research. Naruto would say, yeah, doing research, huh? Haven't heard that one before. As Jiraiya would say, but you don't know who I am, do you? He would say, I am Jiraiya. You know, he would tell him who he is, and Naruto would just be like, never heard of you. As Jiraiya would fall down into the ground, he'd be like, what? This is when Naruto would look at him and say, yeah, never heard of you, man. Not once. As Jiraiya would say, all right, understandable. This is when Naruto would basically look up at Jiraiya, as he would say, so kid, what are you doing here? Naruto would look up at Jiraiya as he would say, not much, old man. What about yourself? Jiraiya would ask him for his name, and Naruto would say, my name's Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. This is when Jiraiya, after hearing that name, would say, Naruto? And then this is when he would have something click in his mind. Paper. He would immediately look at Naruto and ask him what jutsu that was, as Naruto would say it's paper release. This is when Jiraiya would get a flashback of when he trained Conan and say, wait, can you... As Naruto would basically just say, can I what? Jiraiya would stay silent, and this is when Naruto would just ask, so what do you know about me? As Jiraiya would look at Naruto, he would say, oh, nothing, kid, it's nothing. This is when Jiraiya would get a thought about his students. He'd wonder how they were, how Nagato, Conan, and Yahiko were after all this time. And Jiraiya would just end up thinking that, you know, it's nothing, right? Maybe Naruto was just born with this cake of Genkai or something. This one, he would tell Naruto that he would ask Naruto how efficient he is with paper style, to which Naruto would say that he's actually very efficient with it. Naruto would end up showing a couple of jutsu that he's developed with paper style, and he would even show him the Shikigami dance. He would turn into paper, he would create the wings, he would basically have it so that the floor would turn into paper and explode, because that's one of Naruto's go-tos. He would show him his paper clones, which can explode, and Jiraiya is impressed. Naruto seems to be at about the same level that Konan was when he finished training her, and Jiraiya would be very, very happy with Naruto's progress. He would say, "So kid, how'd you like to train with me for the 1 month?" As Naruto would say that, yeah, nah, he'll pass. He doesn't really feel like training with a pervert. As Jiraiya would say, "What? Well, how about this, kid? If I defeat you in a battle, then will you train with me?" Naruto would chuckle and say, "Sure thing, old man. Do your best." Naruto would basically blitz at Jiraiya and it would be over in a second. Jiraiya would immediately use the Toad Mouth Jutsu, a very high ranking jutsu, as he would trap Naruto within it. Naruto would have no way of escaping. He would try shooting paper at the Toad Mouth as he would try to break out, but it would be useless. And by the time that Naruto realized it, Jiraiya had already shoved the Rasengan straight into his belly. Naruto would have been flung out, as the force of that would have thrown him straight out of the Toad Mouth. And that being said, Jiraiya would then smirk, saying that, "Looks like I won." Naruto would look at Jiraiya as he would say, "Looks like you did." As he would say, "So, what are we gonna do first, Gramps?" Jiraiya would then say, "So, do you have any basic chakra control?" Naruto would say, "Of course I do." He would say, "Can you do this?" As he would walk on water, and Naruto would go over as he would repeat the same thing. This is when Jiraiya and Naruto would say, "Alright, looks like I'll definitely have some time." Naruto would say, "Look, old man, I don't really have time to be training on the basics. What was that jutsu you just used?" As Jiraiya would say, "What, the giant mouth?" He would say, "No, not that one. The giant blue orb." Jiraiya would smirk and say, "Oh, the Rasengan." As he would have a thought in his mind saying that, "Yep, he's just like Minato." This is when Jiraiya would explain to Naruto what the Rasengan is, and for the next week, Naruto would train in order to master and learn the Rasengan. That being said, after about an entire week, Naruto would finally be able to get the Rasengan perfectly. Not only that, but he would be able to create a different variant of the Rasengan, the paper Rasengan. He would be able to mix in his chakra nature and paper into the Rasengan to create like a spiky sides to it, where it's similar to the Rasen Shuriken but in a very small state in his hand. And it's not going to destroy his opponents on a molecular scale. I really just said molecular instead of molecular, but yeah. Anyways, it's not going to do all that, but it's definitely way more powerful than the base Rasengan. That being said, this is when Naruto would then learn about summonings. Naruto would actually have a very dope variety of summonings, because instead of just having his little instead of only having access to toads, Naruto doesn't make a contract with toads. Naruto's already had one. Something that I definitely forgot to mention a while ago, but figured now's the best time. Now's as good a time as any, right? Naruto would summon an animal, which would be a giant black panther. Jiraiya seeing this would get shocked. "It's a panther." Naruto would say, "Yeah, what about it?" As the panther would speak to Naruto and say, "Why have you summoned me?" Naruto would explain that he's here with Jiraiya, the Toad Sage, and the panther would then bow down to Jiraiya as he would show his respects. Jiraiya would then say, "So looks like you have this down already. Well, really don't know what else to teach you." As Naruto would say, "Yeah, there's not really much you can teach me. I'm pretty adept with my ninjutsu." This one he would say, "How good are you at taijutsu?" As Naruto would rush at Jiraiya, and Jiraiya would put him down in 10 seconds flat. He would say, "Yeah, that's what I want to work on." As Jiraiya would smirk and say, "Alright, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be your master." As Naruto would say, "No, you're going to be my sensei." Cobra Kai reference. I'm totally kidding though. He wouldn't have said that, but he would just nod his head and they would end up going off. As Jiraiya would train him for the next 2 weeks in how to use taijutsu properly. He would get about as good as Rock Lee, as good as Sasuke was by the end of his little Kakashi training, which is actually pretty far. And after that, we're basically going to have them all going back to the Chunin exams, as they're now going to have their battles. Now, when it comes to Naruto versus Neji, which is still going to be the battle that happens, Naruto is going to completely get eviscerated by Neji. I'm sorry, but he's just going to get obliterated. See, the battle starts and Neji, psych, you really thought? Come on, now don't play with me. My boy Naruto's never going to get defeated. Naruto would immediately rush at Neji, as Neji would try to put up its guards. He would use a 64 palm rotation. However, it would prove useless against Naruto's paper release. He would create a giant Rasengan. Not a giant one, but like a miniature Rasengan with his paper release attached to it. And he would shove the Rasengan straight into Neji's defenses, breaking it completely and shoving the Rasengan straight into Neji's abdominal area. Neji would get knocked out worse than he was in canon, because if you guys don't remember, Neji got hit with the Rasengan, I'm pretty sure, and when he got hit, Neji suffered a little bit. So yeah, Neji got done just a little bit dirty, you know, just a little bit. Oh, and also remember guys, Sasuke never gets the curse mark, so he doesn't have that same drive for power or, you know, any of the other stuff that happened in the original canon. That being said, Sasuke would end up shoving the Chidori into Gaara, just like many of you guys would expect, and Gaara would begin running away. Naruto and Sasuke would both chase after Gaara into the forest, with Kankuro and Temari trying to hold them off. However, Naruto would end up having to face against Kankuro. However, before he does, Shino would appear and he would take down Kankuro. Afterwards, we would then have Naruto stay back as he would take on Temari, and Gaara would fight against Sasuke for a solid 4 minutes, which would lead to almost the same encounter that they had in canon. However, Sasuke does like 5% better, which is not really that big of an upgrade, but it's definitely something. Back in the village, everything is basically going as it was in the original canon, seeing as nothing really too big is going to be changing because of Naruto, his paper release and stuff like that. That being said, Naruto would finally finish taking out Temari, which was actually kind of a pain in the ass because Temari has wind style, so every time Naruto tried to use his paper jutsu, she was able to deflect it with her wind. It was pretty boring. It was pretty annoying actually. Naruto had to resort to using water style, which was also being stopped by her wind release. So Naruto at one point ended up having to rely on nothing but his speed and sheer will to take down Temari, which he used very properly, and he ended up actually creating a paper clone which exploded behind Temari, causing her to get knocked out. To which Naruto would finally arrive as Gaara was about to shove his claw straight into Sasuke's head. Naruto would kick his claw away, and this is when he would create about 15 shadow clones which would all lock up like chains, and they would throw Naruto straight into Gaara, to which Gaara would throw a punch, but Naruto would disperse into paper, causing Gaara to get very shocked, and a bunch of those clones would jump on Gaara as they would all explode. Gaara would have a bunch of pieces of sand go all over the place, and Gaara would immediately be knocked out by the blow. This is when Shukaku would finally take over, as he would create a gigantic version of the one-tailed beast. As of course, Naruto would look up at this and see that he's gonna have a very hard time facing that thing. Naruto immediately would decide that there's only one thing he can't do, as Naruto would look deep within him and say, "I need your help." Kurama would then look at Naruto and say, "Why should I help?" As Naruto would look at Kurama and say, "If you don't help me, that thing's gonna kill the both of us." Kurama would say, "Fine, only because I hate the one-tails." As Kurama would empower Naruto, and many of you guys are probably wondering, yo, Zether, when did he talk to the Nine-Tails? Come on, bro. He's had multiple time to do it. He's had a massive amount of time to do it. I promise you Naruto's been able to talk to the Nine-Tails for a while now. So he does just that. And empowered by the chakra of the Nine-Tails, Naruto would create a version of the Nine-Tails created straight out of paper, which would immediately jump on top of the One-Tailed Jinchuriki and grip onto him, which would leave Naruto to create the wings and fly over to Gaara, as he would shove a Rasengan straight into Gaara's stomach, knocking him out immediately. And Gaara would wake up. No, actually, it would snap him back into reality, right? As the Shikaku form would go away, and the paper Nine-Tails would stay there ravaging at Shukaku's like sand remains, because you know it's like Naruto is kind of angered by this, you know what I mean? That being said, Naruto would take Gaara down, and Gaara, being the person he is, would say, "How did you do that?" Naruto would look at him and say, "I did it through training, hard work, dedication, something that you never had to put in, did you?" Gaara, after hearing those words, would have a different realization than the one that he has in canon. He would say, "I'm gonna get stronger than you someday, Nine-Tails. And when I do, you're gonna die." But before he can finish the sentence, Naruto would quite literally create a paper sword as he slashes down and cuts Gaara's head off. He would say, "I'm tired of your voice." He would then grab Sasuke as he would throw him over the shoulder and return to the village. This is when Kankuro and Temari would run back to Gaara as they would realize that he's dead. And it's at this point that Hiruzen would have already died, closing the fate for everything that happened in the original story, and Naruto would then have to be present for the funeral. After the funeral happens, they would of course be talking about gaining a new Hokage, and of course Jiraiya is definitely going to have to take Naruto along with him. This would lead to the journey happening in which instead of Naruto learning the Rasengan, Jiraiya would actually teach Naruto the Water Dragon Jutsu, because it's something that Naruto actually saw was pretty cool when he saw Kakashi use it in the Land of the Waves. He just never exactly had the time to master it or try to learn it because nobody exactly was able to tell him. That being said, Naruto would master that jutsu as well as the Gale Palm. Not only that, but he would create more variants of the Rasengan. He would even end up adding his wind nature into it, which would cause for the Rasengan to get a lot bigger. A lot bigger. Naruto would master the Rasen Shuriken during this time. And I'm pretty sure many of you guys are like, Sether, why are you doing this, man? Well, to answer your question, lightly, just gonna say this. Naruto has been training from the age of literal 4 years old. I doubt that there's any possible way that Naruto hasn't learned about the secret of the Shadow Clones. Naruto using the Shadow Clones would speed up his progress a lot more, and he would end up developing the move in about 1 week. The same amount of time that it took our canon Naruto to do it, plus the fact that Naruto at this point already has perfect chakra control, he definitely is able to create the Rasen Shuriken. That being said, this is when they would all basically go to the hotel as... Alright, not gonna lie, I just got interrupted. But anyways, as I was saying, Naruto would basically end up checking into the room as Jiraiya would leave, just like he always does, and end up searching for some beachy ladies, you know what I'm saying? That being said, Naruto would end up just staying behind, as of course, Itachi and Kisame are going to pull up. Now, Naruto's not dumb. He's not gonna stay in the room and wait for Kisame and Itachi both to tag team the man. So what Naruto ends up doing is immediately throwing an explosive tag at the wall. The wall would just break completely as Naruto would jump out, and using those wings he would fly away from them. Kisame and Itachi would walk into the room as they would see that Naruto looks something like Konan. They would say, Konan? As both of them would get shocked, and Naruto would begin surveying the area looking for Jiraiya. This is when he would find Jiraiya's location and say, "Old man, I need some backup." Jiraiya would look up at Naruto and say, "Hold on a minute, kid." As he would immediately see that Itachi and Kisame are coming in, Jiraiya would say, "Always coming in to distract me." As he would end up telling that girl to get away from him, and he would then basically jump up to the top of the roof, as Naruto and Jiraiya would both be there. Itachi would immediately ask Naruto how he has access to that jutsu, and Naruto would say that he was born with it, but what's it to him? As Itachi would look at him and say, "Interesting." He would then basically just think that he definitely has something to tell Konan. As after this, we would then have Kisame saying, "Alright, let's take these two on." Itachi would then say it's not wise to take out the legendary Sannin by ourselves. On top of that, that boy seems to be just as adept with paper release as Konan is. I don't think it's a very smart choice. Kisame would say, "Come on, Itachi. There's no way that brat could take us both out." As Naruto in an instant would create a Rasen Shuriken, and using those wings he would propel himself to fly right at Kisame, as he would shove a Rasen Shuriken straight into Kisame, blowing off an entire arm. Kisame would get flung a mile away, as it's at this point that Naruto would look at Itachi's direction, and Itachi would put them both under a Genjutsu, as he would grab Kisame and run off. And this is when Naruto would finally snap out of the Genjutsu 10 seconds later, with Jiraiya snapping out in about 5, and they would both realize what just happened. They would both realize that they definitely got to be more careful, and Jiraiya would tell Naruto that had it not been for him, he probably might have ended up having to get into a bit of a scuffle. As Naruto would chuckle, this is when Jiraiya would look at Naruto and say, "So kid, how do you feel about your strength wise?" And Naruto would say, I feel pretty fine as it is right now." Jiraiya would say, Good. Well, your next task is going to be to learn Sage Mode. Those Akatsuki members, they're after you, Naruto. They want that thing that's inside of you, the Nine Tails. For the time being, we're going to be training you into how to tap into the power of the Nine Tails." Naruto would get a little excited after hearing this, admittedly, and they would then find Tsunade. Of course, they would arrive to the bar, and Naruto, being the person that he is, isn't exactly going to stand up to Tsunade being like, "Don't you dare disrespect the Hokages." As Tsunade, never ends up having that little fight against Naruto. Instead, Naruto makes a very petty remark saying, well, at least the Hokages are there, doing something, risking their lives, while you you waste your life in a bar. Your granddad would be very upset at you. Tsunade, after hearing that, would say, don't mention him, as she would stand up and smash the table. This is when Naruto would look up at her, not saying a word, as Tsunade would grab Naruto by the shirt. However, he would turn into paper and wrap all around Tsunade. As Tsunade would say, what's this? And this is when Naruto would basically proceed to just turn into spikes, as he would start pushing deeper and deeper and deeper into Tsunade's body, as she would start screaming, and Naruto would then say, you disgust me. This is when Naruto would have a giant pile of paper surround Tsunade, as he would turn himself intangible once again, and he would then start crushing his hand in a way that's very, very similar to Gaara. Tsunade would then realize what's going on, and she would activate her 100 healings jutsu, as she would explode all the papers off of her, causing the bar to break. And this is when she would rush at Naruto, as Naruto would get hit head on, not being able to react fast enough to Tsunade's mighty blow. He would get punched across the face, which would actually almost cause Naruto's head to literally fly clean off of his head, as he would basically proceed to fall down onto the ground and, basically rub his face, saying, ugh, that hurt. This is when he would stand up, and Tsunade would come in to throw another punch, as Jiraiya would actually have to step in and say, that's enough, Tsunade. She would say, get away from me, that brat tried to kill me. As he would say, well, you disrespected the Hokages and his father. As Tsunade would say, his father? What are you talking about, Jiraiya? As he would say, that's the son of Lord Fourth, for your information. Tsunade would say, huh, son of Lord Fourth, eh? Interesting. Huh, maybe I will let you live after all. She would back away from Naruto, as Naruto would get angered, as he would immediately create a Rasengan, and Tsunade would get shocked. He would shove the Rasen Shuriken, a full-powered one, straight into Tsunade, which would quite literally rip her in half, causing Tsunade to be on the ground, almost about to die if it wasn't for the fact that she has the Slug Sage mode and stuff like that. So she would end up healing herself, with Katsuyu being the one who mainly stitches her together. And after this, she would wake up realizing that she was defeated. Maybe off guard, but she was defeated. She was a stinking drunk. I think that if it wasn't for the fact that Tsunade was drunk, Naruto would have stood zero chance. Absolutely zero chance against Tsunade. That being said, this is when Tsunade would end up actually agreeing to go back to the village, and there would actually be no Orochimaru. Actually, no, yeah, there would be an Orochimaru fight. However, the Orochimaru fight would actually go by way easier. Kabuto, he's not a threat, leaving Naruto, Jiraiya, and Tsunade to actually be the ones who end up fighting up against Orochimaru. And as soon as Orochimaru sees this, he immediately backs away, because it's not like he's about to fight against all three of these people. Very high-ranking ninjas. Naruto has Konan's abilities. He doesn't know if he has access to all of them, and if he does, he realizes that this fight is not going to go down in his favor. So he ends up doing the smart thing and retreating, grabbing Kabuto and reverse summoning out of there. That being said, Tsunade would return to the village, healing everybody who was hurt in the little attack of Konoha destruction stuff. And this is when Jiraiya would ask Naruto if he's ready to go on their little training mission, which they talked about on their way to find Tsunade. Naruto would nod his head as he would say, I'm ready, Lord Jiraiya. As it's at this point that we then have Sasuke rushing in the room saying, Naruto! He would then look at Naruto, as Naruto would look at Sasuke and say, what is it, Sasuke? He would then look at him and say, fight me. This is when Naruto would just start chuckling and say, alright, Sasuke. As Jiraiya would say, we have no time for this, Naruto. Get your stuff, let's go. And he would then look at Sasuke's direction, sensing the evil within him, and say, Sasuke, you too. Grab your stuff. We're heading off. Sasuke would get a very strange look at Jiraiya, and he would say, what are you talking about? As Jiraiya would then tell Sasuke that he's going to come on a 3-year training journey with them. As Sasuke, realizing this, would get a little bit of a smirk on his face and say, we'll have that battle in 3 years. As Naruto would chuckle and Sasuke would smirk, thinking that this is his chance. If he trains harder than Naruto, he'll definitely be able to catch up to him. Naruto would smile, and this is when they would embark on their 3-year quest to get stronger. During this time, they would have actually ended up handling a couple of the Akatsuki members, because after the first year, Naruto ended up developing his body a lot more, meaning he grew taller, he grew stronger because he did more and more taijutsu training due to the fact that Sasuke was there. He had a little bit of a rival there at all times. Not only that, but Naruto and Sasuke actually ended up developing a pretty dope relationship with each other, as well as Jiraiya, with Jiraiya, not with as Jiraiya, but with Jiraiya. And Naruto during that time would have actually ended up learning Panther Sage Mode. See, what Panther Sage Mode is something that I made myself. It's not a real thing, at least I believe. But what I think a Panther Sage Mode would be is the ability to get a black cloak all around you. So his aura would turn black anytime that he wants to use his Sage Mode. Not only that, but it grants him incredible speed. Incredible speed. Something that many people wouldn't be able to react to. Something very, very similar along the lines of the fourth Raikage's lightning cloak. However, it gives 10 times the boost of speed than that. Not only that, but it allows him the ability to turn intangible into a shadow. So the only thing that could hurt him in that stage would be fire. That being said, Sasuke would end up learning Sage Mode, not wanting to be like Naruto and trying to be more like Jiraiya, developing jutsu such as Kirin. Not only that, but developing his jutsus with developing his Kenjutsu skills. And in case you guys don't know what that is, it's basically a swordsmanship and stuff like that. That being said, after the first year, they would both be incredibly powerful because of the fact that Sasuke isn't getting pushed to the limit. His body has enough time to heal. He has somebody who's truly helping him and his goals, and he knows that he's going to reach those goals. So during those 3 years, not only were they able to, do their little training, but they were also able to basically dismantle the entirety of the Akatsuki. During the first year, they actually ended up having a little bit of a run-in with Kakuzu and Hidan, which Naruto in the original, who only had a Rasen Shuriken, was able to handle Kakuzu. So now you will imagine what happens when Sasuke, Jiraiya, and Naruto were all up against them. Yeah, Kakuzu would begin to brag about how he survived the fight against the first Hokage, and Naruto would just smirk and say, "Are you sure he wasn't holding back?" As he would then create a gigantic tree out of paper, which Kakuzu and Hidan were actually standing on. And he would then basically cause the tree to wrap vines all around Kakuzu and Hidan. They would both get thrown off guard as Sasuke would literally just aim his hand down as he would say, "Now die with a clap of the thunder gods." Kidding! He would shoot down a giant lightning bolt which would destroy Kakuzu and Hidan. Hidan would not die, of course, because he has multiple lives, but when it comes to him, his head is just buried into the ground, so he dies of starvation. And when it comes to Kakuzu, all of his hearts were lost to that gigantic attack, which is Kirin. That being said, they also end up handling people such as Deidara and Sasori during that time. Because of course, Deidara and Sasori are around that sand village, and they actually ended up going to the sand village themselves to scout out the area after all these years. They would have handled them at around the 2-year mark of their training, when they were double as strong as what you guys do remember. And at this point, Naruto has already met Konan. See, they would have already ended up having a little bit of an encounter with Nagato and Konan, and that is something so dope. It would have gone something like this. They would have been traveling through the land of the Hidden Rain Village because of the fact that Jiraiya, now knowing that they're both more than strong enough to handle themselves, they're even stronger than him at this point, decides that it's about time that he checks up on his old students. They would end up infiltrating the Hidden Rain Village, and this would lead to them getting information in the same way that Jiraiya did, having them fight against Pain and Konan. As soon as Konan sees Jiraiya, she would end up looking at him as she would then stare down at the boy right next to him. The boy by the name of Naruto. Naruto would have the same wings out as she does. However, his are the color white. Or no, they're black wings instead of purple ones. Konan, noticing this, would say, "Huh?" As she would immediately get attacked by Naruto. Naruto and Konan would be engaged inside of a fierce battle, as Sasuke and Jiraiya are the ones who end up having a fight against Pain. The battle with Konan and Naruto is amazing. It's an aerial battle. They're both flying into the air using their taijutsu abilities and shooting a bunch of explosives at each other. They would be having an amazing battle. Have you guys ever seen what's something that could kind of describe it? Imagine two birds in the air just clawing against each other every other second, and just like no, that's not a good description. So let's say that there's two Conan. Just imagine Conan versus Conan, but they're both flying. That's basically what it is, except one of the Conans is way stronger and has more access to jutsus. One of them has more experience, but the other one just overpowers them. Yeah, that's basically what happens. Naruto's definitely able to handle Konan, and with that being said, Sasuke is actually, doing very well when it comes to working with Jiraiya. They're both perfect sages, because during that time, Jiraiya, after seeing Sasuke's ability to turn into a perfect sage, definitely decided that, you know what, he can't just have a student showing him up like that. So he decided to learn more of sage mode himself, and with that being said, he ended up becoming a perfect sage himself. That being said, though, this is when he would end up actually being able to take out the last path of Pain, and they would end up locating Pain's location. They would use the chakra rods to basically reverse the signal where it's coming from, as they would find the tree that Nagato is hidden inside of. They would take Konan with them and have a talk about how they want to achieve world peace. Nagato would give his say on things, and Naruto would do his own thing as well, saying that that's not the way to go about it. You can't just force people into submission with power alone. That's not how it will work. It'll be fabricated peace. It'll be fake. The second that somebody with power goes away, the peace will as well. Everybody will go back to their savage natures. And Pain would say that that's a fate that he's willing to accept. Even if it means 20 years of peace, he's going to be the one at the top of all of that. As they would end up basically talking to him more and more, and it would be an encounter kind of similar to the one with Naruto and Nagato, where he ends up getting through to him using his talk no jutsu. And they end up actually finding the location of more Akatsuki members who were actually able to be defeated by Naruto, Sasuke, and Jiraiya. See, Naruto at this point doesn't exactly have access to every tale of the 9 tails. He has access to about 4 tales of it because of the fact that Kurama is admittedly irritated at the strength of Naruto. If Naruto was to want to do that little taming process, he would only have access to KCM1, which would be a little bit of a downside since Kurama is going to always be trying to break out, but he's not going to be able to. So yeah, he only has access to about 4 of the tales, and we're just going to be saying that they end up finding the rest of the Akatsuki members. They end up finding Itachi, which Sasuke ends up actually handling on his own. And I'm actually going to say that Sasuke is able to do that all by himself. No help needed. So while he's doing that, Naruto and Jiraiya are actually in charge of taking out Obito. However, they're not alone. They would call for reinforcements in the Leaf Village. People such as Kakashi, Mike Guy, and not only that, but Ino Yamanaka. Yep, Ino. I bet you guys probably forgot all about her, just like I did a little bit, but yeah, she's definitely still relevant. Remember how she's on Team 7? Yeah, that also means that she's going to be the main focus of Tsunade when it comes to training her pupil. It's not going to be Sakura this time. And Ino and Sakura both have about the same amount of chakra control. However, I'm just going to be saying that Ino has a larger chakra pool. So she arrives on the battlefield, and it's just an all-out brawl, dude. Like, Mike Guy ends up using his 7th gate, and it's just an all-out brawl. It's an awesome battle. Naruto at the end of it, however, would end up snapping Obito's neck before he's able to phase out of it. Naruto at this last split second would finally end up showing off his Panther Sage mode. He would activate it, and on an instant, without Obito being able to do anything such as blink, would quite literally blitz behind Obito, grab him by the head and snap him, as Obito would fall down onto the ground, lifeless. That is where What If Naruto Had Paper Release would end. I hope you guys went on to enjoy the story, seeing as it was actually a pretty dope one. It was definitely a little bit fast paced, but the reasoning for that is because not only is there not really too many changes to the story because of the fact that Naruto has paper release, it's kind of just making him more OP, plus the fact that I decided to add his Panther Sage mode stuff, which granted is pretty dope still, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys love seeing these OP Narutos. But for those of you who like more Narutos that go along with the storyline, I'm going to be dropping a What If Naruto Was an Uchiha very soon, so definitely be on the lookout for that. That one's probably going to be like a 2-hour video, so I'm probably going to not upload one day, which is going to lead to me uploading like a 2-hour, maybe 1 hour and 40-minute video the next day. That being said, I love each and every single one of you guys. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and Zether out. Peace.